Hi guys, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be back in the Maldives, probably the most beautiful place in the world. But anyway, so who am I? My name is Liz and I'm a blogger. I make stuff online. I'm one of those weird people that you hear about but probably never meet face to face. But what I do is so much more than that. My job is to inspire people. My great lifelong passion is for travel. I love having adventures. I love nature and being outside and being in beautiful places. But above all, I love sharing stories. I love exploring new places and going back to old haunts. I like making things. I really hate public speaking, and I say like a lot, so if you can bear with me on that, that would be awesome. And I like sharing my adventures in the hopes that it might inspire some people to go out and have some of them on their own. And I love to give people the shove they might need to get out the door and travel, and to challenge themselves. So, okay. It was back in 2010, so 7 years ago, when I decided to create a travel blog. I was getting ready to move to Spain to teach English for a few years, and I wanted to have a record of my adventures. You know, this is kind of a common theme among all of us. I'd been traveling for years already, and I wanted to share my stories and my pictures with friends and family back home. This is a common travel blogger beginning. But I can still remember the first time someone messaged me and let me know that my stories were helping them plan their travels and choose where they were going and things like that. And it really had a profound impact on me and my blog, and I went from just sort of sharing things I was interested in to sharing things in the hopes that it might help other people. And I can still remember a few months later when I decided that I wanted to blog full time. And of course, I'll never forget my parents' reaction to that, which wasn't that great. So I decided to keep close track of my stories after that and my posts to see which were the most successful. This is something that you can do to really, target the growth on your following and things like that. And I learned that when I told a story, when I was really personal, especially an inspirational story, it was far more well-received than just if I did a general travel tip kind of post. And so from that moment on, I decided to really focus, and every time that I sat down to write a blog post, I would try and tell a story. Everyone starts blogs for different reasons, have different interests, different goals where they want to go with their work online. And, there's so many types of blogs, from food to sports, fashion, lifestyle, travel. The boundaries with this are, unlimited. There's a blog for everyone nowadays. And the type of content you share is also, there's no limit to that either. It can be, anything from video to art to photos to words, to things that people haven't even come up with yet. There's no limit to it. But the one thing that we all have in common is that there are, I think, 100 million blogs out there. So to be able to stand out now in such a saturated industry is really difficult. So, but I have found that in 7 years, no matter, how you run your business or how you run your blog or your brand, at some point or another, storytelling will come into play. And especially in the past few years, storytelling has been a really hot topic among content marketers, especially visual storytelling. And travel bloggers and Instagrammers and everyone have a lot of potential to become really big players in the industry, and there's endless opportunities for sponsored work and campaigns. And there's a place for storytelling among all types of content creation, and it's up to you how you incorporate it into your business and your brand. Storytelling is important because it draws people in. It helps them care about you, your brand, and your message. It's easy to like a photo or to briefly engage with a photo or content online, but stories are what brings people back again and again, whether visual or written, or even spoken. So the human brain, I've found, is really wired for stories. People are thirsty for them. They want more and more. So with your own narrative, what narrative moments can your readers cling to again and again? And for me, it's things like misadventures, my relatability, my authentic content. I fall off things and hurt myself all the time. And, anything from I get a lot of hate comments and I share those as well. So these are narrative loops that I repeat again and again over the years. And it's become, part of my story in the eyes of my readers. And it's what they know me for. And it's gotten to a point where it's they repeat my stories and these points again and again, eventually doing my work for me. Think about your words. How can you draw in readers and followers through storytelling? The best way to be a better storyteller is to understand why words resonate in a certain way with people, and looking at other people's successes and see like, okay, this works and this doesn't work, and I'm going to repeat what works and go from there. And think about your images. It's the same kind of thing. It's really important to pay attention to how things are received, and tailoring your stories and your content around that if you want to be successful. I think I'm often asked what is the most important thing for up-and-coming travel bloggers and brands to focus on, and my answer is always the same. It's figuring out what you're passionate about and developing your style and your voice in that direction. And this is all linked to storytelling, and the theme that I'll be repeating over and over again, authentic content. People aren't stupid. They can tell when you're faking things online, or when you don't mean it, or if you're selling out to a brand, or if it's not a right fit. So it's really important that you know what your passion and your brand and your focus is, and you work with people that correspond accordingly. Storytelling is vital to building a community and engaging an audience that will continue to grow. And being able to tell a good story on your blog or through your social media platforms and create that personal human connection between you and your readers is what builds a community and an engaged audience. You have to give your readers, your followers, a reason to care, to give a crap about you. Otherwise, why would they stick around? Why would they come back for more? So over time, you'll learn how to reel people in, get them excited about the stories that you're producing, and keep them around and coming back, which is what you want. You don't want just like a one-time follower. You want someone that's going to be in it for the long term. And this comes from if you just produce the best content, the best stories possible. And that goes back to like rule number 1 in the industry, and that is that content is king. Okay, so if there's one buzzword that has been circulating among digital marketers over the past few years, it is storytelling. Storytelling is playing a massive role in this kind of marketing, which is to our advantage as bloggers and creators, because brands are looking for new and creative ways to share their products online and the services online, and we offer that perfect voice and that medium between them. We are the connection between brands and an audience, right? So digital influencers have become a crucial part of marketing strategies for brands and tourism boards, hoteliers, people around the world for the past few years. And storytelling creates an emotional investment by sharing real, authentic, personal, relatable experiences, which is incredibly powerful in marketing. It compels people to invest emotionally. And if you can manage to do this through your storytelling, you're doing really well. So what I mean when I talk about all of this is that, influencers and content creators are the stepping stone between a person who's going to be booking a trip and the brand where you're trying to get them to buy something, right? So people listen to what bloggers have to say. They listen to influencers' voice and opinions because they trust them, because they've built a relationship. So that's really important. So you're in the ideal position to be helping brands share their stories. Why? Because we bring in that personal human element and personalized element to the table. You're the bridge between customers and businesses. So your readers already know and trust you, right? And if you successfully built a loyal and engaged community of followers, then they will likely listen to whatever you have to say and trust you. So whether you're recommending a product like a camera, a destination like the Maldives, or a hotel, or a tour, or a restaurant, things like that, you've already built that credibility with your audience because you've built a good relationship with them over the years. And by building that good connection between you and your readers, you can demonstrate it successfully to brands. Then you're in a really strong position to be working as an influencer. So, I have found that like classic marketing and staged content just doesn't work anymore. Like people are hungry for more. They want a human connection, a story, relatability. They want a reason to invest. And it's obvious in so many different things, like whether it's like really staged photos that are on a beach, like those they're not as popular online anymore. Like people want, videos, and they want behind the scenes, they want like real, raw, like sometimes even messy content, that's like, yes, I can picture myself there. So I have found that the industry is really changing. So there we go. One of the questions I get asked above all, from anything from like, what camera do you use, to your favorite place that you've traveled to things that are far too personal for people to be asking. But one of them is always, how do I get more followers, right? This is what everyone wants to know. And we live in a really busy world now, and the internet is noisy. It's just full of crap that you just have to sift through to find something good. And online is flooded with information and content. It's like sifting through an ocean to find something that's high quality or interesting enough to engage with. The average person's attention span has dropped drastically over the years, and now I think it's like 8 seconds, if not less. That means you have a really small window of opportunity to capture somebody's attention and to get them to stick around and follow you. So because we're constantly having words shoved in our faces, we've learned to like sort of skim content online and not connect with them. So if you're able to build, a reputation about being a good storyteller, you can really build a solid community out of that and have a kind of engagement that other people don't have. So for me, like, I'm not the biggest blogger or the biggest Instagrammer or things like that, but I have a loyal fan base that's borderline weird, like they know things about me that like I don't even remember sharing, because I have created a brand that's so personal and relatable, and people that follow me, I'm not just like this like pretty person on a pretty beach in a bikini. Like there's a whole reason behind it that people can relate to, and because of that I've been able to build, and through my honesty and my authenticity and my candidness and my like vulnerability and all these kinds of things that I've shared years and years and years of doing this, I've been able to build a relationship with people where it's like people think they're my friend before I even know them. And because of that, I have one of the biggest conversion rates in the industry when I sell things or talk about things, because people know that I'm going to be honest and they believe what I say, which is really important. So through storytelling, you can relate to people on an entirely different level. You cut through all the BS that's flooding the internet, and you make your blog stand out. And storytelling imparts information in a different way. It's more personal, and it connects with readers on a more fundamental level that people can relate to. Your stories should share real experiences that people can understand and sympathize with. That's kind of hard in the Maldives, because it's a kind of place that people dream about, right? It's the dream destination, at least for us, like not from you guys that are from here, but it's a place that seems so unreal that people can't even imagine what it's like to be here. So I think that's like a stereotype that I've personally tried to break down. A lot of people think it's completely unaffordable, right? That every hotel is 5 stars and $2,000 a night, right? So, who in their 20s can afford that? So I think there's a lot of power to be found in bloggers and influencers in places like the Maldives, because they can, break through those sort of stereotypes that people have about a destination and really be able to share it in a way that people can understand and relate to. So, you're human, your blog is you, it's your own personality that people follow you because of that. So like, it's the kind of thing where like, if you've been following me on my Instagram stories, I'm just, all my posts from here are like, oh my God, pinch me, is this real life? Like how am I so lucky that I'm staying in a villa over the water, things like that. And then telling them, oh, here's how you can do it as well. This is not unattainable. This is something that, normal people can do too, if you plan it right. So relatability and reliability is really important. So storytelling is also universally effective because the possibilities of sharing a story are limitless, right? There are no rules in this industry anymore. Anything that there used to be in travel writing and content marketing in the past few years is just, all those barriers have come down, and it's being redefined by everyone, right? Which is, frustrating, but also pretty awesome, because it means you can do whatever you want. So, writing, photography, video, art, podcasting, there's so many mediums to choose from, and you can always count on the fact that there will be people out there to consume the information that you're sharing it. I have this belief that, and it's one of my favorite things about being a blogger, because I don't have a boss over me, right? Like I don't have an editor telling me, no, you can't say that or whatever, unless you can count my mom. But so I have this idea that like if you share something, if you share an idea or a story and you put it out online, it will always find a reader or always find a person who can relate to it in some way, no matter how big or small you are. And I think that's really awesome, and I think that's really new, and it wasn't like that 10 years ago. There was, if you wanted to make videos, you had to, you would have a television channel, or you'd have a manager, or you'd have a producer standing in between you and an audience, right? But those walls are gone now. Like I put an idea out there and I click publish, and there's nobody that can tell me that I can't do that. And I think that's really, really awesome and really innovative. So there are so many different ways to incorporate storytelling into your content, either as a brand or as a blogger or as an influencer. The possibilities are limitless, which is, pretty awesome. Personally, I came by my niche due to trial and error over a couple years. I was not one of those bloggers that started being like, I want to be a professional travel blogger, and I had direction. I didn't have any of that, really. So I just sat down and I created a WordPress account because I wanted to share stories with my family back home. So through trial and error, I learned what worked and what didn't work, what was popular, wasn't popular. And it took 2 years, but eventually I found my voice. I slowly discovered that my readers were more interested in my funny anecdotes, travel stories where I screwed up and had misadventures that I had to share. They were interested in that more than just like lists of places to go to. And over the years, I got to know what they wanted to read about, and I got to know them as friends, and then I was able to let my imagination run away with me. I took risks over and over again, knowing that the more personal and more potentially controversial I was, the bigger the reward. And, I've screwed up, everyone does, but, you never get far in this industry if you're not willing to take risks because, again, 100 million blogs out there, like millions of websites. How on earth are you ever going to stand out if you just repeat what other people are doing? So I stopped caring about my numbers, and I focused on engagement. I was looking at reader comments. I was looking at who was reacting to the stuff I was sharing, the conversations that people were starting. So I think it's very important to find your voice, and one of the best ways to do that is just don't be afraid to practice, Luckily, with all this content that's online nowadays, if you mess up, it disappears after a while. Like, you don't have to make a decision in the beginning of starting a blog and commit to that forever. Like, you can change it. Like, you just have to sort of be willing to look and see how people are reacting. And if you keep sharing stuff and no one's interacting with it, maybe be like, that's not working. What can I do differently? And just be very perceptive of what people are interested in. So, blogs are amazing creative spaces because you can do anything. You don't have an editor, you don't have a producer telling you what you can't do. You're the boss and you decide what goes up and what doesn't. And it's important to find a combination of different structures and styles that match your brand and the best way to incorporate storytelling into, your blog, your Instagram, or your whatever brand that you're promoting. So I guess the key takeaways from this would be to understand that, storytelling is more relevant than it ever has been before. It's really powerful, but it's also collaborative, and it's really creative, and it's a space where, there's often a lot of rewards with taking risks with the kind of stories and content that you're sharing. It's really important to find your brand and your voice through storytelling, and it's worth the time and the investment into trying to figure that out. And don't forget that the power of authentic human experiences is really strong and really important, and that's what people are craving nowadays online. And it's important to build relationships with the people that are following you and interacting with them. A crucial part of content marketing these days involves storytelling, and through storytelling is one of the best ways to build both a bigger following but a really loyal, engaged following as well. It's an opportunity to be creative with how you incorporate stories into your work, but it's also an opportunity to have fun and really enjoy it. Authentic, real stories will always shine and always will be successful, and it's a really cool chance to figure out, where you're going to go with your business or your brand through telling stories. Thank you.